Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call this December regular meeting of the Quorum Court to order and welcome everyone in attendance. The prayer and the pledge is going to be handled by J.P. Butch Pond. J.P. Pond.
We thank you, Heavenly Father, for the opportunity to come here before you, the citizens of the county, to rightly and properly serve the citizens of Washington County. We just pray that we look towards you when we make our choices, our decisions, what we say and do. We pray that it be pleasing to you. And that way, be fair to the citizens of Washington County. All this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, J.P. Pond. Let's do roll call. Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Here.
Robert Dennis.
Here.
Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Here. Tom Lundstrom.
Here.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Ussery.
Quorum present. Next thing we have is the adoption of the agenda. I have several changes that I need to be made on the agenda tonight. First, we need to remove the agenda item number 12 at the request of the comptroller, as this appropriation request is no longer necessary. Second, at the request of the grant administrator, we need to add an ordinance anticipating the appropriation grant money of $10,000 to the Juvenile Court Emergency Response Center budget. This will be inserted where number 12 was, and it will be 12-2 in the papers that you were given tonight. A third, an additional millage to be levied comes from the city of Goshen, so that millage ordinance has been revised. It has been distributed tonight, labeled 9.1 revised. Next item I want to point out is that the budget ordinance that was distributed tonight, it is the same as 10.1 in your packet, but it has the 2017 budget information attached. Last, there's been some substitute ordinances distributed tonight for item 20 regarding the county jail doctor, and is distributed as of 20.2. There's one other change that I'm going to recognize. J.P. Madison, she wants to make a motion. J.P. Madison, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I move that we suspend the rules and read the ordinance to tonight by title only.
Okay, so now we have a motion and we have a second to that. I'm going to go ahead and let's see, all in favor of that, let's just say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next thing we're going to have is our citizens' comments. It looks like we've got a nice number of people that's decided to get out in the cold tonight, so we're always glad to see them. We'll have a 15-minute comment period. Each person that would like to comment will have 3 minutes. And if we need to suspend the rules and we need to give it a little bit longer time, but right now we're going to start at the 15 minutes, 3 minutes per each person. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to recognize the first person that would like to be recognized. I'm going to ask that you come to the chair, give me your name, and tell me what you got to say. Mayor Sprouse.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Quorum Court. And I'll try and keep it in 3 minutes. I apologize, first of all, that I will not be here for the agenda item that I'm going to speak on right now. On the issue of the road millage, we've got Merry Christmas Springdale, and in Springdale it's a party for all our employees. We'll have about 500 there, and they all go away with a gift, and it's all paid for by our great businesses in Springdale. So I'm here to speak, obviously, and I've gotten to talk with many of you about the proposal to reduce the city's road millage. Springdale would be hit about $790,000 in a budget that's already been approved by our city council for 17. The only reason we're not hit as hard as Fayetteville is because about 10% of our residents are in Benton County, so they would not be affected on this turnback. 3 quick points. First of all, at a minimum, I'm asking that you postpone the effects. If you decide to move forward with this next year, at least hopefully we'll have an opportunity to discuss and talk before then. But as I said, our budget's already done, and several years ago, Springdale since 1968 until recently worked with the county and provided EMS service for many parts of the county and a couple of small cities. That process to end our ability to do that and pull our EMS boundaries back to the city limits was about a 3-year process. And the Quorum Court was well involved, committees of the court, the county staff, EMS, other provider, or Central and other providers were involved in that process for about 3 years. It was not anything that came as a surprise, and we had an effective date established well before the county and gave the county and other cities and other providers ample time to address that issue, and we even offered more time if we needed, as long as everyone was moving in the right direction. So I think that process worked very well, and hopefully before you take a step as impactful to the county residents that live in the cities as what has been proposed, I hope that you can take more time and give us an opportunity to have more dialogue about that moving forward. The second thing is the short-sightedness, I believe, of such a proposal if it were enacted. We all benefit, county and city, when sales tax revenues increase, and when and many of the projects that we do with portions of this road money, whether it's Cambridge next to Tyson. I'm sorry.
Your time.
My time is up already?
Yes.
All right, well, I don't want to take time away from other people, but when we reduce the ability of cities to maintain roads for up to almost 80% of the residents in Washington County, we reduce the ability for development, and that giant sucking sound to the north, to the county to the north, will continue if we don't allow cities to provide infrastructure for development. The last thing is I want to work with you all as we move forward. As president of the Municipal League beginning next summer, we've already had great dialogue with the Arkansas Association of Counties, and I know there are issues, 95% of the issues in our legislative packets we agreed on with the county, and including jail funding and some things that I know are very important not only to the county, to the city. And I will pledge that I will work with you to help make those things benefits for all our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Who next wants to speak? Identify yourself, please.
All right. I'm Velma Schaefer. and
Have a
I-
seat, Velma.
All right, thank you. I live in Springdale and have been up there for 16 years, and I'm going to speak about the parental leave. I am not in favor of it, and I have just 6 quick points to bring up. I do not believe that it's fair to provide a benefit for a select few employees that others may not be happy with. The second one, I believe it's unfair to increase expenses on the government, which is already under a lot of pressure for money to put in a new program, which will cost more money. The third one, I think it's deplorable to allow others to receive benefits who are not the mother. I think it's too extensive. I was a health information administrator for about 45 years, so I'm aware of the problems that mothers encounter. But I believe that you have a very good package of benefits that you provide them for PTO or whatever you call it. And I believe that they should manage those hours and use those for their time off. Also, I have 2 sons. They're in their 40s. I took 2 weeks off for each of them to have my children. They are very well adjusted. They have master's degrees, and they have suffered no ill effects from the 2 weeks that I was off with them. And that's all I have to say. I'd like that consideration.
Thank you very much for your time. Next, come forward, identify yourself. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Drew Wallace, and I'm a small business owner from Fayetteville. And I'd like to talk about 2 things. The first one is the road millage. I am also against taking away the money from the cities. I agree with the mayor with that. With my job, I travel around Arkansas a lot, and I've been in a lot of towns across the state. And I think that road infrastructure is critical for our economy, and especially for the people who it's going to help the most, who are inside of cities. And I believe that the money should still be available to be used for the road infrastructure to benefit everybody. And as also the mayor said, we need to make sure that we stay competitive with our road construction, with the county to the north, and with across the state. I think that it's really important that it be taken in consideration that our road funds stay in funding. My mom lives in Farmington. That's where I grew up, and they're going to be affected. I know that Fayetteville's going to be affected a lot, and a lot of services that cities rely on, they are not going to have if that money is taken away. And then the second thing I'd like to talk about is I am in favor of the parental leave. As a business owner, I think it is imperative that we take care of our employees. And I think especially someone who's dedicated themselves to helping the people of Washington County, I think that it's very important that we take care of them to give them their ability to let them, if they are, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, to let them have parental leave. I think that it's very important, and especially if coming from a single-parent household where I grew up with just my mom, that's very important to have that time, and for mothers to have that time with their children. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Next, Mayor Groom. Please identify yourself for the record. 3 minutes.
Okay. I won't take the 3. My name's Bill Groom. I'm mayor in Greenland. I talked to you guys a couple of weeks ago on the bus route that I think is still very necessary. It serves some of our more unfortunate constituents. I want to also echo what Mayor Sprouse said. We've already built our budget. This is going on the road tax. We've built our budget for the year. Just in general, I think bodies like city councils and quorum courts come to better decisions when they have had some time to look at the issue, discuss it, take information from the public. I would like to echo Mayor Sprouse's recommendation that we take a deep breath and come take a look at this thing next year, which is just a few weeks away. But again, we're here to serve the public, and we should make the best decisions. And I think we're rushing the process here. From we didn't even know about it till the 1st of December, and now it's a done deal. That's pretty quick. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Identify yourself. Mayor Jordan,
Mayor
please.
Lionel Jordan, City of Fayetteville. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to us tonight. I, too, am very concerned about the road millage. My street fund is $6.8 million, and I would lose $1.1 million, 1.154. That's a 17% cut in that fund. It would affect my right-of-way maintenance, my street maintenance, my drainage maintenance, my sidewalk maintenance, and all of those would have to be cut in some form or fashion, and we've already passed our budget, which means I've got to go all the way back and look back at the fund and decide what cuts we're going to have to make. We would make those cuts if we have to, but I hope we do not have to do that. I hope you will certainly certainly take this very seriously. That's a 17% cut in a street maintenance fund, which will be very difficult for us. So I would hope that you would not pass this tonight.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm Mayor Harold Douthit from Elm Springs, the Metroplex out west out here. I'm opposed to the 1.1 mil removal from the road tax for the cities around in northwest Arkansas as well. I'm definitely against you doing anything about it on this short of notice. It just doesn't give any of us an opportunity. As the other mayors have already said, our budgets are done. Y'all struggle with budgets the same as we do. Just a couple of points. When this 1.1 mil was voted in, the citizens of the entire county voted for it. And the citizens that are in our small communities are in the county. And they're still going to be paying that 1.1 mil, and they're not going to be getting the benefit of it. And unlike some of the larger cities, this is a big piece of my budget. So I just want you to take into consideration the fact that we are in Elm Springs. Elm Springs is in Washington County. My citizens are still paying this, and if you take it away from them, they're not going to be happy campers, and I'm not going to be a happy camper. Pardon me while I pick up my notes here. Improvements, one of the reasons that was given me was that when cities annex properties from out of the county into the city, that it's taken away from your tax base. Well, it's also taking those road improvements away from you and putting them in the city. You don't have that responsibility anymore of that maintenance. We take it in. And so therefore we count on that. So with those points in mind, I'd appreciate the fact that y'all would definitely, at the very least, let's talk about this some more and not slam dunk it on us. And like many of these guys and gals, I didn't even know about it till I read about it in the newspaper. So let's open up some communication lines and let's talk about a better way to do this, because it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt all the citizens of Washington County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Douthit. Identify yourself, please.
Mayor Paul Coven, City of Tonytown. I'd like to reiterate what my colleagues have said tonight, that we too will be impacted by a decrease in the funding. Not maybe as much as the bigger cities around us, but it'll affect us some $70,000, which in our budget also estimates out to about 15 to 20% of our revenues. I'd also like to remind this body that we too are a part of your county. And by state statute, you guys are the ones that are allowed to levy these millage taxes. We're not. So we'd like to remind you that you do have the ability to increase your own taxes if need be. But as far as our budgets, they're already passed. And going forward, I hope that each and every one of you got a chance to read the letter that I sent to you. We would be more than happy to sit down and discuss any issues that you have and try to work out the solution for you as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Come forward, identify yourself.
My name is Nate Robinson. My wife and I own a small business in Springdale. I appreciate each and every one of you for being as selfless as you are to serve our communities. I wouldn't want to sit in your seats, to be real honest. I'm not a mayor. I'm not some bigwig. I'm a small business owner. And my wife and I are going to be impacted by this road millage. That's impacting my family. It's impacting my son, okay, on the ability for our clients to reach our business, for them to visit us, to be patrons of ours. And that's important to my wife and I. It's important for us to be able to make a living, a reasonable, honest living by working hard. There's at least one member on here whose spouse visits my store quite frequently. I want her to be able to have that access easily because of the roads that we have in our great town of Springdale. I understand at the same time that there are county residents who have placed a burden on each of you to represent them as well. And so my charge would be to please consider where the population lies, to consider what the ramifications of this are on such short notice, and to open up the lines of communication with the cities as we move forward. I appreciate your time.
This is the last, thank you very much. This will be the last one we can recognize. Our 15 minutes is up. I just want to say I do appreciate all of you taking the time on a busy day like this. I thought you all come to tell me goodbye, Vince. This is my last meeting.
All the mayors showed up.
Thank y'all very, very much. Like I say, I hope we got everyone a chance.
You want to check and see if there's any?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see if there's anybody that hasn't gotten a chance to speak, because we can certainly suspend the rules to add more time, so.
You got a hand.
Then I make a motion, we suspend the rules to allow, how many people need to speak?
Second.
Okay, one additional person to speak.
Okay. We got two.
Okay, to allow two additional people to speak then.
All in favor of suspending the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mayor Penn, have a seat and tell us what you need to tell us.
Good evening, Mayor, Judge, and I'm just here to just affirm with the other mayors of the cities, and just to let you know that I totally agree with their comments and what they've stated about their cities, and same way with Farmington. Like one of the other mayors said, our amount is not a tremendous amount, but it does impact our budget. It will cut out some of the projects that we had scheduled for this next year, and that we've also passed our budgets for 2017. I appreciate you very much, and just want to let you be on the record that I agree with the other mayors.
Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you.
Come forward and identify yourself.
Yes, good evening. My name is Park Estes. I'm Executive Director for the Arkansas Asphalt Pavement Association. And at the risk of being redundant, would echo some of the things that the prior folks have said. A couple of the business owners touched on the issues of the business side of what's going on. I would like to echo that, understanding that good infrastructure and good roads not only attract business, but they help retain business too. And I think that's part of the consideration that should be taken before this decision is made, one way or the other. And there's also a safety factor when it comes to roads that we need to understand and make sure that, you know, we have good roads, smooth roads are safe roads, potholes are fixed, those type of things that come into the budget. You know, there's many reasons why I think we all understand how important infrastructure is. So I have many, I'm not from this area. I'm talking on behalf of many constituents that I have in this area at their request. I've recently moved from Crawford County to Central Arkansas, and I'm looking for a place to live, and I've already ruled out a couple of places due to the upkeep of roads and some of the infrastructure. So I know it's important to me, and I don't think I'm alone in that. So I think we need to take that in consideration as well. Thank you for your service that you do up here and all the time that you spend to do that, and thank you for the time to speak.
Thank you, sir. Okay, do we have anyone else? Thank you oh, yes, come forward, Mayor Hudson.
It's going to be real quick.
Okay.
I just didn't want to be the only one not. I am Sonny Hudson, Mayor of Prairie Grove. I can't say anything any better than it's already been said. I just want to let you know that we are concerned about it, but I'm also confident that y'all will do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Okay, now I'm going to recognize one of my Quorum Court members, J.P. Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. You know, I'd like for everybody in this courtroom to know that I've been very concerned about this thing. I can appreciate where you're coming from. And I think, well, I'll just say upright, I'm going to vote to oppose this thing, take the money from you. But I've got also having a concern. I've talked to Mayor Sprouse about this at some length. I got a call this afternoon from Archie Schaefer. We talked about it at some length. And, you know, the thing I think we've got to recognize, we are Washington County. We're not cities and we're not county. We're Washington County. And we need to work together. And, you know, I think by the demonstration of interest here tonight, that we know that we've got some political clout down in Little Rock. And we need to work as a team to go down there and try to get legislatures to do some things that take some pressure off the county. Right now, the fact that the state of Arkansas is withholding payment of the full amount it costs us to maintain their prisoners is costing us between $1 million and $1.5 million. We know that Springdale is probably going to shut their jail down sometime before long, and that's going to add a burden. Now, what we've got to understand is that the problem we have with the budget is primarily caused by the state. We've done a good job in the past few years of dramatically reducing our budget here, and I don't think any department is hurting. And we have hopes of continuing to improve the service and keeping these costs under control. We know that we can still levy some additional millage, but we want to be sure that we're going to use your money properly. But we want to be sure that the state does what they need to do to take the pressure off the county. That way we're not squabbling within the family about the details of a few dollars like this. So please join me. Mayor Sprouse has promised to go down there and help to try to organize the mayors and the judges to approach the people in Little Rock to get some changes made to make this thing happen. So thank you all for coming and expressing your opinion. We appreciate your support and the perspective. Thank you.
I've had another JP to raise a hand, but I'm not going to recognize any more JPs. These are citizens' comments. If you don't mind, I'm going to move forward because we got a lot of stuff to cover. And please don't feel bad at me for doing that. I just feel like we need to keep this in order. I've went ahead and I've made an allowance for JP Bowman, but I think we need to move on. The next thing we have in front of us is the approval of the minutes. Yes, you're recognized, JP Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I apologize, members. I didn't realize that we had two sets of minutes until Carly told me when I walked in. So I've not read the November set, and I'd like to abstain from that vote, but I will move approval of the October minutes with some minor typo that I've sent to Carly. There was no substantive issues with the October minutes, but I'll move approval of the October.
Second. Have a motion and a second to approve the October minutes. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, does anyone want to make a motion to approve the November minutes?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the November minutes. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we've both been, now the next thing we have is our treasurer's report. Mr. Hill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Judge. As usual, I'll be brief.
Good.
You got 7.1 to 7.5 in front of you. I'm not going to go over each one. There's nothing surprising or out of the ordinary, but if you do have questions, I'll be glad to answer them. I will just say, looking out to the end of the year, revenues look to be on schedule. Actually, in property taxes and sales taxes, the projection is going to be above my projections. So that's the good news. There's always bad news. The bad news is, once again, the general fund at the end of this year will not meet what it began the year as. So this will be like the 7th straight year of that to happen. So eventually it's going to catch up, but next year we're going to be fine. The year after we're going to be fine, but eventually it is going to catch up with us. But we began this year at $12.8 million in cash in the general fund, and we're probably going to end the year at 12.3, so $500,000 less, which is better than it has been. But anyway, that's all I have. If anybody has any questions?
Any questions for Bobby? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Next thing we have is our comptroller's report. Ms. Farber, you're recognized.
$8.1 is the unappropriated reserves for November, and if you have any questions. On 8.2 is our statement of revenues and expenditures. And each fund should be at approximately 92% expended, and everybody looks pretty good.
J.P. Harbison.
All right, we've got a minus 504,000 on the jail operation and maintenance. Is that just showing that the money they have to move into that fund has not been moved?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
And then 8.3 is the summary statement of operations. And again, everybody should be approximately at 92% spent.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next thing we have is an appropriation ordinance. J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. Attorney Zega, would you read 9.1 revised by title?
An ordinance levying the county, municipal, and school district taxes for the year 2016.
Thank you. The only change in the revision is on the second page, Article 2 for Goshen is 3.0 mils. The original version was 0. I've given each of you the copy of a spreadsheet that I've been sharing with you along that shows our effect on our unappropriated reserves, which our information shows we're going to drop about $500,000 from year to year. That top section showing where we're at $6.5 million going out to the year 2021 when the sales tax revenue drops because of the population redistribution. That 1.2 million drop will go on forever because our population as a whole of the county goes down. So basically what you're looking at in that top section there is our future if we do nothing to change the millage. You can look down at the next section, adding $500,000, $1 million, and show you where we're at. Every 10 years, the census is going to reduce our amount of population to the total for the unincorporated parts of our county, thus reducing our sales tax portion, and consequently we have less money to do more services for county residents. So we really need to do something with our millage. I would hope we do something this year. I understand the mayor's concerns over a proposal last month at our meeting. I don't know what this court wants to do. We can accomplish our budget by either increasing some revenue, decreasing some spending, or combination thereof. And I'll leave it open to discussion at that. Thank you, Judge.
J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. Members, I want to encourage us to do what's responsible with respect to our millage, and that is for us to have the courage to deal with our own budget problems rather than passing that off to our cities. I think it's almost embarrassing how we've handled this, that we sprung it on our mayors at the last minute after it was too late for them to do anything. And because we don't want to raise our own millage or cut spending or do whatever we need to do, we're going to force them to do that instead. That's not the way we work together as a county at all. And I'll also say that in the 6 years that I've been on the court, I've heard a lot of frustration about why do we have to give our road millage to the cities? Why do we have to share our road millage with the cities? Why do Fayetteville and Springdale get 80%? Well, it's because it's not our road millage, it's everybody's road millage. And I thought Mayor Colvin, in his letter that he sent to us, made a really good point. Those taxes come from the city residents. They are already subsidizing county roads because they don't get 100% of those. So we can complain that Fayetteville and Springdale get 80%, but I kind of think they ought to get 100 of it. The other cities that get 50-50 splits with us, why aren't they getting the full portion that comes from their residents? So I really think we need to look at this from a different way and say that this is not about money being taken from the county. We're giving the money to the people who are paying it, and it's going toward their roads. I mean, I've heard from, those of us in Fayetteville heard from the superintendent of the Fayetteville School District. I heard from school board members. They're thinking, gosh, our kids need to be able to get to school in the winter. We need snow removal. And you're talking about seriously affecting our city's budgets. And that's just not a good way for this court to act. It's not at all. And I apologize to the mayors for the way this has been handled. 7 of you came tonight. That's pretty remarkable. I'm sorry that you had to come. And we've heard from countless others about this. But we need to be responsible with our duty to levy the millage and not pass our problems onto our cities, because our cities are part of this county. So we need to leave our millage intact. And if this court thinks we need to raise revenue, we need to have the courage to raise our own millage. Thank you, Judge.
I have Harbison, Lundstrom, Ecke, and Pond. J.P. Harbison, you're next.
Okay. I think this is a great opportunity for the county to have dialogue with the mayors of the city. The county
down the road is facing some crucial financial matters. And this doesn't really have to do with the millage. It has to do with the sales tax. As the census, as more people live in the incorporated areas, there are still more people that live in the unincorporated areas, but there are still more in the cities, in the city limits. And I hope that the mayors that are here, that we can have a dialogue about freezing the percentage of the sales tax. If we could freeze the percentage at the county at this time gets 18%. If we were to freeze, you would still get the percentage that you are getting now. This does not hurt anyone financially, but going forward as we have growth, we will have some money in our budget to take care of everyone in the county. We provide services for everyone. We provide the county collector. Everyone uses a county collector. Everyone uses the assessor. Everyone uses the coroner. So I hope the mayors will work with the county work with the cities. The mayors would work with the county and the cities would work together to come up with something that freezes the 1 cent sales tax so that we have money to operate on. This is an opportunity for us to move forward and to do something. So at this time, I'm going to go on and make a motion that we adopt 9.1 as presented, leaving the millage as it is for the county roads and for the county library and those presented by the school districts and the cities.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second on the floor. Now we're going to proceed with discussion. We seem to have some echoing here going on with the mics. J.P. Lundstrom.
I personally would like to have a deeper and better understanding of this road millage to start with. And I don't believe everybody in this room has a full understanding of it. I thought it must be statutory, that the state was mandating that we split it. So I called our county attorney and asked him, is it even legal for us to move this into the general fund? And he advised me that there is no statute demanding that we do that. So, where did it start? Why did it start? Who decided who gets what, etc.? I don't know. I was hoping Mr. Zaga would explain all this before we get out of here tonight so that we can all have a better understanding of it, because we all have our millages, and most of the cities have higher millages than the county does. So when this money that the cities are not wanting us to take, they have gotten from the county road tax. So it reduces the amount of money we have to maintain county roads with. And people need to get, those chickens from the farm to Tyson's Processing from the county too. They like good roads. So we do need some dialogue, and we do need to work this thing out where it's equitable for everybody. I personally, if we voted on this tonight, would not vote to move the millage because I don't think it's right to do it on such short notice. But something does have to be done with county millage, because we have to have more money. Every time there's a census, we lose more money. It's not just annexation. The census is taking a big chunk out of it. When I first came here, we got 21% of the taxes. Now we're getting 18. That costs a lot of money. So it just keeps going down, down, down. And at some point, but we still have to continue furnishing all the services, the jail, the coroner's office, all the rest of it. So I hope Mr. Zaga can explain this to where even I can understand it. Thank you, Judge.
I am going to recognize Attorney Zaga, let him explain some of this to us. I think he's got some ideas.
Thank you, Judge. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to tell you is mostly from memory because I don't have the books here, but I'm confident in what I'm about to tell you as a general matter of history, and that's what this is. In the 20s, the Arkansas legislature passed a statute, and the governor signed it, giving Fayetteville 80% of the road tax, county road tax, assessed and collected within the city limits of Fayetteville, Arkansas. I believe in the 40s, a similar statute was passed for Springdale, and then in the 50s, a statute was passed for the small towns in Washington County. In the 60s, the people of Arkansas passed a constitutional amendment banning what is known as special or local legislation. When they did that, these specific kinds of statutes that benefit specifically that geographic district or this particular person became unconstitutional. Benton County has similar statutes to ours. Siloam, Rogers, I want to say Bentonville, all get 70 or 80% of the county road millage raised. Okay. Thank you, J.P. Madison. J.P. Madison tells me that they get 90%. And Benton County sued those cities, the larger cities in Benton County 10 years ago, on the constitutional question and lost. Essentially having the Arkansas Supreme Court say these statutes were enacted before the constitutional amendment, they're still constitutional. So in answer to J.P. Lundstrom's question, you could legally do what J.P. Cochran proposed, which is reduce the road millage to 0 and increase the general millage to 5.0 and spend general money on the road. You could legally do that. But as long as you levy a road millage that is designated as a road millage, by statute, you will share it with the cities. And the cities will get the various percentage of that that's raised within their limits.
But are we not limited to 5 mills by state statute?
You're limited to 5 mills on general and 3 on road.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to, I know I've got, go ahead and ask Steve a question.
Can we change this by legislation, like the percentage of the sales tax? If the cities were to work with the county and we came up with a piece of legislation to take to the legislature, could we amend this in some way so that the cities get their fair share, but yet we have enough to run this county?
Are you talking about the split of the road millage?
No, I'm actually talking about the sales tax and the census.
I don't think you could do that because the apportionment of the you can't do it at the state level for a variety of reasons, but the main reason is that the sales tax ordinance was voted on by the people. It was a referendum.
But the percentage that we receive
It's
is by population.
Yes, ma'am, but that's dictated by a referred ordinance to the people. So it would take a referendum to change it. In other words, y'all don't have the authority to undo what the people did at a vote. And that's the division of the sales tax money by population was done by them.
Where did I get the idea that there was a piece of legislation that only affected Benton County and Washington County? It was millage, not sales tax.
I'm 99% sure that we're talking about the split of the road millage and not the sales tax.
Okay, well, I just think
I could
we
be
need
wrong,
to
but I think I'm right
work
about
on
that.
this. I think we need to work on it.
J.P. Ecke?
Thank you, Madam Judge. After listening to a lot of this, it is my belief that the incoming judge and the mayors, along with the Benton County probably judge as well, need to get together with our legislators and come up with protection for the larger counties here in this state that deals with annexation and the impact of annexation. We, as the Quorum Court, we don't have anything to do about it. That is their responsibility, and the only way this can be changed is through legislative action and amendments to the Constitution. And I think we need to just allow them to figure this out. It's not our jurisdiction, it's not our authority, and we don't have any responsibility other than carrying the weight of the state when they decide to do what they do. I think we just need to, it's just my belief that we as a quorum court have nothing to do with it. And I think our state needs to be the ones to deal with the larger, how are we going to protect our larger counties from annexation and this type of situation, and they need to take care of it. And we as JPs are out of it, and we just have to wait until they decide what they're going to do. Thank you.
JP Pond.
I'm going to try to stay with millage, try to avoid a little bit of the, confusion from people listening. I would like to start out and say it. I pretty much agree with Eva Madison this evening. In that I disagree with robbing the road millage in order to beef up the general fund millage, which we really need to do. And I've listened to the mayors, and I've also listened to the county judges many times. The mayors are concerned about money to keep their streets maintained. The county judge is concerned about money to maintain the county roads. Anybody that takes that position, the office of county judge, that's their biggest responsibility. And that's what the people of the county, whether they live in town or in the rural area, they look towards the county judge for that county judge be responsible for that issue. I'm a little taken aback sometimes, and it's just a sign of the times that we have people that speak up for the city street maintenance, and they'll say, especially the city needs that money. Or I may have friends, as a matter of fact I do, that are especially concerned about the county roads. We're all living in the same county. I heard one or two people say that. I could have just said, well, some of my friends are for the cities having more of that money, and some of them are for some of my friends think the county should have it for the county roads. And I just want what my friends want. But my goodness, we're living in the same county. We need to learn as civilized people to work together, not be competing for this money. It benefits the cities, the smaller towns. The city mayors realize this a little better sometimes than the bigger towns. The condition of the county roads definitely does affect the economy of the cities. Somebody did bring it up. If feed trucks and chicken trucks can't get across those bridges or down the roads, is that going to be good for Springdale's economy? I don't believe it will. Somebody might beg to argue with me. No, ma'am, I'm not going to vote for a robbing the road mills in order to beef up the general where we are desperate for the money. But I'll tell you this, I've still not forgotten that I'm one of the JPs that voted to rob the general fund mills to start with by $500,000. And that is one of the tools we have, the only tool we have to tweak and do anything about revenue that comes into this county there's a 5 mil limit. That half a mil, that helps my wife and me. It helps us every year on our property taxes. Every year. It's just almost half enough for my wife and me to go out and eat one time. But it definitely makes a strong effect on the revenue that the county receives in order to operate and maintain roads and that's basic. There may be people here tonight. That's basically why you've got a house full of city mayors and people from the city so concerned about a suggestion that was made at our last meeting, because we took that half a mil, and there doesn't seem to be enough of us to want to put it back after we saw the hardship it created. Where we have people saying, well, we think the state ought to do something about it. Well, if we reduced our own a half a mil and we're not going to do anything about it, I don't have a real strong anything inside me to go to and expect the state to do anything about it. I think I've stepped on about everybody's toes here, but at this time I wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I am in full support of 9.1 as moved by J.P. Harbison. And I want to say, in fact, that the amendment that was proposed last time, to me, shows a certain amount of lack of respect for the cities and the citizens of the cities within our county. Road projects, street maintenance are not planned 6 months to a year out there. They are planned way ahead. I've seen Fayetteville's transportation improvement plans. These things are projected quite a long way into the future. They don't operate month by month or even year by year. So this was, I'm sure, very unsettling to the cities in this town. I don't think we operate as county versus city. We all work together for what's good for both residents of the cities and residents of the counties. And we want everybody to have good roads. We certainly expect good roads within our cities. And just so we know where I am for the future on this issue, I'm not going to support revisiting this issue in another year. This has been a long-standing commitment that was made and an agreement. And I don't think these cities ought to have to go through this every year. We don't need to put them in a position of having to come beg the Quorum Court to be able to know if they can work on their plans for their streets within their cities. So I'm ready to vote. Thank you, Madam Judge.
I'm going to recognize Steve again.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll just tell you that because we're in December and because this is the regular meeting, y'all have to do something with this tonight, obviously. But the other thing is, because it's an appropriation ordinance, it'll take, whatever you do will take 10 affirmative votes because it's an appropriation ordinance. I just wanted to let y'all remember that.
I'm going to recognize J.P. Cochran next.
Thank you, Judge. Last year, when we came to this ordinance, we only had 6 JP support, a 1/2 mil reinstatement back to where we were several years ago. I don't know if there's 10 to do it, but I'm going to make a motion that we bring our county general from 3.9 to 4.4.
We have a motion on the floor.
This is an amendment.
Oh, okay. Is it okay? Ann, who had the motion? Ann?
I did. I made the motion. I'm not going to accept that as, I'll bring it in.
Steve?
Well, J.P. Cochran still made the motion, I believe. J.P. Pond seconded. So you have a motion to amend the ordinance to set the county general at 4.4. That would be amending Article 1A from 3.9 to 4.4 mils. And that motion would be because it's not a friendly, would now be up for discussion.
And we have to also ask for public comments on this, do we not?
Well, on the ordinance, Judge, but
Okay.
not on this motion.
Yes, J.P. Madison.
I think we're back to where we were last time. Instead of putting it on the cities, we're now putting it on the citizens. And given that we have to pass it tonight, I think the citizens deserve a chance to know that their taxes are going to be raised. I just don't like how we're doing business these days. These surprises that aren't on the agenda, I assure you, we have a full house tonight. We would have a much fuller house if we were proposing a tax increase. And so I think the court has missed its window to do this. And I think we've got to do better about giving people notice of significant things that this court is going to do. We need to pass the millage the way 9.1 is drafted and the way J.P. Harbison made the motion, and spend time next year solving our budget woes with notice to all those involved. Thank you, Judge.
J.P. Lundstrom.
I agree with J.P. Madison. I don't like just throwing this stuff up at the last minute, and I will not support that motion. Something needs to be done, but a lot of this is not just buying a half a mill either, as J.P. Pond said. I got a tax receipt from one of the restaurateurs in Springdale the other day. He actually gave me a copy of his property tax receipt. And he has an almost empty house now where it used to be full. I eat at the Sunset Grill quite a bit, and where they used to be full every day, now they may have 5 or 6 tables. People don't have the money to eat on now that they used to have. But his tax bill was $16,976 for one small business. So he has to make over $1,500 per month gross profit just to pay his property tax. And he told me, he said, I am struggling to keep this thing open without laying off help and so forth. And they're having the same problem up and down some of the other restaurants in the city of Springdale. All you have to do is go around and eat in some of them. Some of them are still doing well, but a lot of them are not. So this is a big issue. A half a mil brings us in about $1.5 million a year. Our treasurer has indicated to me that we're going to have enough money in 2017 to cover this budget. And I agree with his views, and usually they're pretty accurate. So I want to go through 2017 at least and see how things come out before I do anything with this millage personally. But don't think that property tax, just because a mill is $20 per 100,000 value on your property, that it's a small thing, because you read these things. $12,000 of that $16,796 bill is for Springdale schools. $12,000, that's $1,000 a month that he's paying just for Springdale school systems on one small business. I have a small business, or my family does there myself, and we pay very large property tax on our plant. So it's not a small issue for a lot of people. I believe most people in here would be shocked to see Sam Mathias's property tax bill or Jim Lindsay's. I guarantee I doubt there's enough money in this room to pay either one of them. But it's property tax. Thank you, Madam Judge.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We have a second to pass the amendment is raising the millage from 3.9 to 4.4. We do not need public comment on this. I'm going to go ahead and call for if we have no other discussion, I'm going to call for the vote. Carly? So we all know what we're voting on. Okay, very good.
Joe Maxwell? No. Gary McHenry? No. Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
No.
Bill Essery?
No.
Daniel Balls?
No.
Harvey Bowman?
No.
Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
No.
Lisa Ecke?
No.
Ann Harbison?
No.
Sharon Lloyd?
No.
Tom Lundstrom?
No.
Eva Madison?
No.
Sue Madison?
No.
Now, the other motion on the floor and second is to pass 9.1 as is. We've had open discussion. Now I'm going to call for public comment if there's anyone in the room that would like to do a public comment on this particular issue. Carly, call for the roll, please.
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Vaughn.
Yes.
Phil Essery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
The schools thank you. I can assure you, and the cities. Now, the next thing we have on the agenda is, hang tight just a moment.
Budget, Jim.
Next thing we have is an appropriation ordinance for the budget. J.P. Cochran, that's number 10.
Thank you, Judge. Attorney Zaga, would you read 10.1 by title?
An ordinance recognizing revenues and appropriating monies for the expenditures in each fund for Washington County, Arkansas for the year 2017, and adopting a budget for the various departments reflecting the line item expenditures thereof.
Thank you. Well, given the vote we just had, I don't think there's anybody who's interested in probably cutting anything off of this budget, even though that we are spending $4 million more than we're taking in. I'll move to pass 10.1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. J.P. Madison?
I've heard a lot of feedback still on the ORT issue. We have folks here tonight, and I want to raise to the members an alternative proposal so that we can continue this discussion. One of the problems with us doing it the way we did it, kind of, again, surprising folks at the last minute, is that ORT has not been able to give notice to those who use this bus route that it's going to be discontinued. Mm-hmm. So it's just suddenly going to get cut off and nothing's going to happen. We also didn't give ORT much of an opportunity to explore better ways to have the money spent. I think all of us share some frustration with the current route, but that's the way the money was tied when it was given to ORT. They have a contract that says that's the way they have to spend it. I thought that the proposal ORT brought to us the last time was very helpful. It was an alternative with using smaller but more vehicles to offer more frequent trips. And I think this court needs to give that a chance. If we cut off the funding completely, that route disappears and all the people that are riding it are suddenly notified, sorry, January 1, you don't have a bus anymore. So what I would like for us to consider is to ease the blow. And I think that ORT has told us that, and Ms. Ritchie, who serves on as the county representative on the ORT board, if we would fund that $48,000 to basically get them through the first quarter and then a little bit so that we could explore the best way for that money to be spent, that would make us not quite be the Grinch this Christmas. And I think that's a much better solution because if you'll think about it, we didn't then give that money to the road department to spend on something else. So it's just sitting in their unappropriated reserves. So it's not like the money is dedicated for some other purpose. So I would propose that we not be the Grinch and that we increase the funding from the road department's half-cent sales tax fund and give ORT $48,000 so that we can continue this discussion in a healthy way and continue the partnership with ORT to help our rural citizens in Washington County. Yes, so I'd amend the budget to do that.
Second.
I have a motion to amend the budget to change ORT. I have a second. Discussion. J.P. Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. You know, I can understand Eva's position on this situation, and I understand that it's difficult to face termination of a route like this. The only problem I've got with this situation is management at ORT had used this route for 2.5 years. We're talking about $100,000 a year out there. I believe that management there needs to get with us, let us know this route is not developing the ridership that we need to justify that route. And I've been disappointed that we didn't get a suggestion for modification, and I think we could easily have appropriated or changed the agreement to accommodate a change in the use of that money. So, you know, I'm struggling with this whole issue. I appreciate the fact that we're providing services out here in some really needed areas, but I'm also frustrated with the fact that we didn't get feedback about what's going on there, so we'd be able to modify the conditions we're working under. So I just, my frustration, I'm still undecided about what to do about it.
J.P. Harbison. We will recognize you just in a little while, Joel, so just grab a seat there and Be patient.
Well, I'll support the $48,000, but I really want to support the $100,000 and put it back because I think we're being very, very, very short-sighted. It takes time to build routes like this. It takes time to get people educated. So maybe with the smaller amount, maybe we can build on that, and maybe I shouldn't go for the full $100,000. But that money was designated for development of public transportation. And we are trying to do this in the rural area. It takes a time. 2.5 years, is really not long enough. I can agree with the people that say their ridership needs to be more. I agree that it needs to be more, but I think cutting it off is being very, very short-sighted. Thank you.
J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I'd like to defer my time to ORT so that way they can give a justification, well, to restate their justification, because in my opinion, they gave a good presentation with the exception of there was an increase in ridership. There's not just 8 people, there's more than 8 people, and that information was not given at the last meeting, so I'd like to defer my time to him. Thank you, Madam Judge.
I'm going to recognize J.P. Madison. She wants to explain her motion and maybe make an adjustment in it.
Well, I just want to clarify, what I'm talking about is not really just to reduce the funding. It's sort of a stopgap measure. It's to get them so they don't have to cut it off January 1st, and we can continue this discussion so that we can hear what J.P. Bowman and others want, is what's the best way to spend this money that we get the most impact with the most citizens being benefited. Because right now they haven't been able to change the way they do it. So our frustration at them for how they've been doing it is sort of our fault. And so what I'm proposing is not that we cut the money, but that we give them $48,000 so we can continue the discussion. But that would be $48,000 of what we cut in addition to the baseline that was already there of 23.
Yeah.
And I'm being told that it's line item 3090 is the line item that's affected. So what we reduced, I'm proposing to restore $48,000 of that, with the idea, J.P. Harbison, of hopefully eventually coming to fully fund it if the court can get with ORT to develop a plan to spend the money the best way.
Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and see if any of the other court has anything, and then I'm going to recognize Joel for make his explanation. Any other discussion? Okay, Joel, come on up and give us an explanation. I think you've got something on your plate that you need to tell us.
Yes, ma'am. For the record, Joel Gardner, Ozark Regional Transit, Washington County, resident of Washington County and Springdale. To address you directly, Mr. Bowman, Ozark Regional Transit comes every 2 months and gives a status report. And during that status report, we get great questions from JPs throughout of what's it doing, how's it doing, what's going on, where are the increases at. But we never get anybody that says, I don't like it. The moment we get somebody that says, I don't like it, what part don't you like? What part what was your expectation? And why are we not meeting that expectation? We never heard one time over this period of time that we did not meet anybody's expectation. We grow and develop and grow and develop and grow and develop. And then, of course, a month ago on a Monday, I got the phone call that it was being cut. And I'm like, well, guess what? I'm showing up on Thursday. So showed up on Thursday, and we had some great discussion. I mean, Mr. Maxwell and I think we had some great discussion while I was sitting here, and hopefully was able to enlighten everybody on what public transit is. It's a portion of the infrastructure in a community as it grows and develops. When we look at, I saw a report over the last 2 weeks that by 2040 we're supposed to have 800,000 people in our urbanized area. That blows my mind. That's only 25 years away, and for us to start building an infrastructure now to be able to support close to 1 million people, I think it's a great opportunity. The money that we're investing right now, only the $100,000, actually $123,000, is a simple investment on the county side for growth and development and establishment of a route. One of the things that I know we see at the end of each year that we've been doing this has been the beginning of the drop of ridership, because our riders know that we are only on a year-to-year leash with Ozark Regional Transit's money. So they start making plans for their future. Come January 1st, what are they going to do? Well, we get into the November, December timeframe for budgets, and people start backing off because they're looking for other opportunities to get themselves around. And we have employees, and we have college students, and we have seniors, and we have people with disabilities, and they're moving from one small community to another small community. They're moving up into Fayetteville. They're working in Fayetteville. They're going to college in Fayetteville. So we're seeing a growth and development of ridership on this particular route. Now, I cannot say I'm sorry that it doesn't meet your expectation, because, sir, I did not know what your expectation was for this route. For me to see people regularly using it, and they're telling somebody about it, and they're telling somebody about it, that is growth and development from a transit perspective. Now, we've got a couple of opportunities. We can go ahead and say it's $23,000 beginning January 1st, and on December 30th, we will let everybody know that there is no other transportation services in rural portion of Washington County except for the demand response model. And the demand response model, as I explained last time I was here, is like the dial-a-ride service, where it's first come, first serve. It doesn't matter who you are, what the purpose of your trip is. If I call first, I get that ride on space and availability. Because we're currently running a fixed route. We're running ADA paratransit, which is mandated by the federal government for us to do for seniors and people with disabilities that qualify. And so we're able to mix and match a little bit of the work that we do. Now, we come January 1st with only $23,000, and that $23,000 will be eaten up within the first couple of months. It really will be, because of the demand response services that the people that are transitioning will go ahead and take. Well, I know we've got the college students that are going to want those rides into the university so they can connect into Fayetteville, so they can get up to NWAC. I know we got some employees that are down in the Greenland and West Fork area that are going to use it to get up here. That $23,000 will go relatively quickly. Beginning March or April, we will get the phone calls and we will say, we don't have the funding, we don't have the space, we don't have the availability. And that's where it ends. Now, we talked about how do we transition this? Well, we talked internally, Ms. Ritchie and I have talked, and we've had some one-on-one conversations. How do we transition this? That's the conversation that we haven't had as a group. And Ms. Madison has suggested that we go through with some additional funding so we can actually sit down and say, what are your expectations? Give me the opportunity to understand your expectations, and hopefully I can meet your expectations. Without knowing what your expectations were, I was never going to be able to meet them. Never going to be able to meet them, and I apologize for not knowing what your expectations were. But if we can move forward to continue this route so we can transition into another model, that would be great. We can do demand response services for the whole of anybody who wants it if we have the assets available, if we have the funding available. That's what we can do. We can transition into another model of public transit, but we couldn't do it under the agreement that we had, which was the agreement was for fixed route services between West Fork and Lincoln, and it detailed the cities that were in there. And fixed route is on a road, it stays on that road, people have to get to that. One way or another, they get to it. We can do the demand response model where it does pick up more people and can actually travel on other roads than the fixed route travels on, and start building some of these organic park and rides, walk and rides, whatever they're concerned, whatever we would want to consider them, where we get small batches and run them to a location, then we're able to go somewhere else into Elkins, then we can jump over into Farmington, then we can jump back over somewhere else where we're not restricted to what a fixed route says. There's many options available to us, but we were restricted for 2 years by an agreement to build a fixed route public transit service. But if we cut it back to $23,000, I can tell you, I can't do a whole heck of a lot with that, sir. And again, I apologize for not meeting your expectation, but I really don't know what that was.
Thank you, Joel.
Yes, ma'am.
J.P. Harbison.
I'm a little bit confused here on on the 48,000.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we approve the 48,000, that is, you will not do a fixed route. You will only use that money to do group transportation or dial, and
that is the model that it is. It's a dial-a-ride model. We'd begin migrating immediately the riders that are on that fixed route. We would let them know that, hey, this is what you need to be doing. You need to start making a phone call. You need to start setting it up for a smaller vehicle to be here at this location at this particular time. But we would be able to, given enough time, acquire a couple of additional small vehicles so that we could feed those out into the county so that nobody would be missed. Realistically, it could potentially look like at 9 o'clock on any given morning, I would have one small vehicle going to Greenland, at the same time another small vehicle going to Farmington to move people to two different directions. And then the model looks like the vehicles are going to other locations to pick up one or two or three people. Now, it's not a single ride person back and forth, guaranteed that. Okay. It's not a taxi type service. It is, we start in one area and start picking people up and dropping them off, and the first person picked up is not necessarily the first person dropped off. We have a computerized system that actually loads people in and tells the vehicle to pick person A up first, pick person B up, pick person C up, drop person C off, pick person D up, drop person A off, and it keeps that vehicle moving throughout the community and doesn't let it stop, but it maximizes the number of miles that it or minimizes the number of miles that it travels and maximizes the number of passengers.
So basically you're having mini routes.
There's no defined route. It's a service area that a vehicle fits in and moves people throughout that service area.
But they have to call and set up.
Yes, ma'am. They would. We would take the time between now and establishing that service of still. I could say we could still run the 620 until we get to a point to where we say, let's go ahead and flip the switch on this. But by then we've got everybody educated. I mean, the optimal way would be to start running the dial-a-ride type services at the same time as the 620 is running, and then phase the 620 out almost seamlessly. But we're not going to be able to do a whole heck of a lot seamlessly with limited funds.
Okay, J.P. Bowman.
I hope I explained. If I confused you, please give me a call. I can do a much better job.
Thank you, Judge. You know, I don't know about the rest of the quorum court, but my expectations of managers is to come to us with recommendations how to optimize the use of county funds in whatever they're managing. And I guess the thing is that for 2.5 years, we've seen the ridership far less than what I would have expected it to be, and I would expect it to be growing during that period of time. If it's not growing, we need to look at some other options. And there's no way that we can go ahead and know as much about your operation as you do. And so what I'd hope you would do is always come back to us with suggestions to modify. I'll guarantee you, I would vote for your modification of that route immediately if you came back with a suggestion here that made sense to try to improve ridership. So please, as far as I'm concerned, anytime in the future you can come back with some modifications and let us know what you think. I'll promise you I'll be in support of whatever you're trying to bring to us.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much. And again, I sincerely apologize for not meeting an expectation.
J.P. Dennis.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I just had a couple of quick questions or comment and a question. I've always heard follow the money. So where does the money come from to operate the system less this 100,000? Where does all your money come from? Is it all from the county?
No, sir. No, sir.
Explain the money to me, because I'd like to know that, and also I'd like to know what are your expenditures? How much goes for management, labor, and things like that? What are we buying besides rides?
Okay.
Because we could buy a lot of Uber rides for this money.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can buy a lot of Uber rides for that money. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Our funding comes from the federal government. We get approximately $1.23 million a year from the federal government. These are going to be ballparks because I wasn't prepared for this question, so please bear with me as I ballpark everything. The state provides us in 5310 funds, 5311 funds. The 5307 funding is where we get the federal government money from. So it's the FTA 5307 grant funding. The state, through the 5311, provides us approximately $380,000 a year. From the cities of Fayetteville, Springdale, Bentonville, Rogers, that's easy to group together into approximately $900,000 throughout the year. The smaller communities scattered throughout Northwest Arkansas, because they do participate in this, there's another $40,000 to $50,000 in there. We receive $140,000 from NWAC. They support a route. We receive private funds from private businesses to approximately $168,000. We provide charter services during the U of A football games to the tune of $60,000 to $70,000 a year. Car tax. Rental car tax was established multiple years ago. All transit systems throughout Arkansas get a portion of it. Our apportionment from that is about $220,000 a year. Fare box is right now $200 and something thousand a year. We do advertising on our buses, which is, I think we're budgeting another $100,000 to $150,000 a year this year. I know I'm missing something in there. I really know I'm missing something. The majority of our money goes to pay the 75 employees and pay for the benefits. The benefit package that we pay is through Municipal League, so it's not the greatest, best, but it's a good benefit package. We negotiate prices on everything we possibly can. We pay for salaries. We pay for insurances, medical, dental, vision. We have the death, and we've got also the AFLAC, and then we also have a retirement where we match 3%, up to 3%. I think it's 3% for retirement. So some of it goes towards that. We pay our maintenance fees, our fuel. Fuel is a huge cost. $20,000 every couple of months is what we spend on fuel. Maintenance is a huge cost. Maintenance, everything from tires to batteries and everything else it takes to maintain a vehicle. The regular living, lights, water, power, that type of thing. Insurances. Our insurance is through the Municipal League. Everything we've done, we've negotiated through Municipal League. I mean, vehicles, medical, dental, everything else is through Municipal League. I'm missing something in there, I'm sure, sir. It's pretty easy to follow the money with us because we're pretty simple. We spend the majority of our money on paying salaries. Not salaries, we pay hourly salaries. We got, like I said, 75 different employees, everything from a bus washer to myself and everybody in between. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It's a tremendous amount of money. It's a large business venture. I'm surprised that you were waiting for us to manage your routes for you. You should have, in my opinion, you should have been in charge of that route yourself, not us. And then to come back and say we didn't show you our expectations. If you're running empty buses or near empty, you gave us the number of 8 last time for that bus. And that was the number that I used in discussing it with people. And then to find out that, we got one letter and the lady was concerned about her 2 University of Arkansas students who had to get their cars off of the stadium or they'd be fined. And so the University of Arkansas forces students to move their vehicles and then they have to turn around and ride the bus. It seems like, we're not working together. It's kind of like the city-county thing. Universities costing those students a problem, and that's some of that 8 is that, riding back to Farmington. So
to talk about working together, I mean, when I first got here, I did actually approach the university so that we could actually hopefully get non-students to use that Lot 56 as a park and ride location. And it's just one of their rules. You've got to be a university student with even 1 credit to go ahead and get a parking pass. There was no visitor pass. I mean, I worked together with as many different organizations here as I've ever worked with anywhere else in the United States that I've done with. And for the Quorum Court to manage our routes, I don't feel that that we've mismanaged this route. I don't. We've worked, we've pushed, we've communicated with the smaller communities on a regular basis, with different entities within the smaller communities to encourage people to ride the route. I think we do a pretty good job of getting the word out there. Now it's just a matter of people trusting and believing in the route on a regular basis to go ahead and ride it, sir.
Well, it's just a matter of the constituents eventually pay for every bit of this. And so when they're paying a ride, and I think the average was given $52 a ride, someone's paying for that. I'm still paying for my kids' college, and they're grown adults. So I understand the cost and how it's nice to have things, but Tom was talking about the businesses that have to pay taxes to pay all this. Everything that we do we spend money on costs somebody something.
Yes, sir.
And it's constituents that are paying it. And the constituents are tired of paying. So, I'm here to vote just about no on everything because we woke the constituents up and they've been ringing my bell saying, no, I don't want to pay for that. I don't want to pay for that. I don't want to pay for that. And so where you'll understand where we're coming from, we're listening to our constituents and they're saying, no, I don't want to pay for this anymore. Thank you.
Understood. Yes, sir.
J.P. Lloyd?
Thank you, Judge. Okay, you say you're simple, and I'm simple. I teach 9th grade math. I want you to give me your most successful route. What's the ridership per month? And so how much does that cost per rider? Your most successful one.
Most successful route, depending on the time of the year, could be the Route 490. On that one, we run 2 buses, 13 hours a day, 255 days out of the year, 49,000 trips up and down Interstate 49, I think is what we take.
Literally 49?
49,000,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. Yes,
And so what would you say that would cost per rider? Because if we're talking $52 a rider, that math doesn't add up.
I'm going to actually have to come back to you with that actual math, because doing that in my head, I got to figure out exactly how much university is paying, how much is coming out of us, what our cost per hour is on that particular route. I've got to get all of those things figured out. You want me to give you a mathematical equation right now that I cannot give you?
Okay, and that's my question to you. I think as a manager, you should know those kind of numbers. You should know how much it costs per rider, and that you should be able to come to us and tell us how much it costs. And when we're complaining about Route 620 and the rider is over $52 a ride, I mean, you should be able to defend that amount and say, no, this is how much it costs, and no. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean,
well, you're picking what your what the county is specifically paying for, and trying to compare it to what the global group is paying for. I think is what you're doing, correct?
But I think that's where we're supposed to manage this. If it's costing us more than an Uber ride, then we don't want to do it.
Okay.
And that's why I mean, if it's all that simple, like you say it's all that simple, then I think we should be able to say, how much is this route costing and how much is this route, and then chopping some routes or building more routes. That's a thought. Thank you.
J.P. Harpson? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, J.P. Harpson, then J.P. Usry. Go ahead.
Oh, well.
We're kind of beating up on him. I think
No, it's okay. That's what I'm here for. Swing the stick. That's what I'm here for.
No, we didn't ask for it.
Handle it.
This is public transportation, and we have, how many millions of dollars of bridges are we having built out here just north of here? what does it cost for every car to go up and down that highway? I mean, this is big bucks. I mean, there's no way that we could pay individually how much it costs to pave a road, 4 lanes, 5 lanes, or whatever. This is not the issue. The issue is public transportation. Is it going to pay for itself? No, it's
Never
not
has.
going to pay for itself. Do roads pay for themselves? No, roads don't pay for themselves. We pay for those. We pay for public transportation. You know, it's corporate welfare. You can call it, look at XNA, the number of the tax dollars that goes into that. Come on, let's let some of this trickle down to the common person in this county. Thank you.
J.P. Ossery.
Thank you very much, Judge. Kind of going along those same veins, the way public transportation, we have to understand that it is not about one rider riding the bus to one location, but it's about the economic impact of the overall picture. And it's just like in business. Some things we make $100 on, some things we make $10,000 on, some things we break even on. That's the cost of doing business. Public transportation is very necessary for the economic development of Northwest Arkansas or any city. That without the buses and trains, the big cities couldn't exist. And yet they don't make any money off of it. But the economic impact is tremendous. And we need to step back and look at the big picture. I think if we start micromanaging by that, what I mean is if we just look at one person making one ride, it'll never pay for itself. But if we sit back and we look at thousands of people over the year riding this thing, some of them are going to cost $1. Some of them are going to cost 50 cents. Some of them are going to cost $50. But when you look at the big picture at who moves into the county and at the businesses that benefit from that, and all of us benefit from that when we need it, then it makes a lot of sense to make this small investment in what we're trying to do here. So thank you very much.
Okay, what we've got on the floor now, we've had number 10, and then we've got a motion from J.P. Madison to increase one line item by $48,000. So now, do we need to vote on that before we vote on the other issues?
Yes, Judge, you need to vote on J.P. Eva Madison's motion that I remember was seconded by J.P. Sue Madison.
Okay, so now that's going to be our vote now that we're going to take now. Carly, would you please call the roll?
Joe Maxwell? No. Gary McHenry? Yeah, Gary McHenry. No. Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Essery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls?
Yes.
Harvey Bowman?
Yes.
Rick Cochran?
No.
Robert Dennis?
No.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd?
No.
Tom Lindstrom?
No.
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Sue Madison?
Okay, so what was our votes?
Judge, I have 8 ayes and 6 nays.
So all it takes is a,
That amendment takes a simple majority.
okay. So the amendment did pass, so we are ready to go on with the major ordinance here that we have in front of us. So,
May I ask that we actually get together, a small group gets together sometime no later than January 30th, so we can set some expectations and some ideas of what the Quorum Court wants and performance measures?
Joel, if you will contact Karen.
I mean, something more than just keeping everybody here till midnight to talk about transit. I mean, it may be during a day somewhere, not that I'll stay up till midnight and talk to anybody about transit.
Can we stay on a committee meeting?
Pardon?
Yeah, get him on a committee meeting?
Yes, Karen will take
Very
care
good.
of it. So you just get with Karen.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, now we are ready to look at the full budget you have in front of you. Do we have any other discussion on this? Do we have any public comment on the county budget for the 2017 budget? Carly, call the roll.
Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Essery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom. Eva Madison. Sue Madison.
Judge, I have 11 ayes and 3 nays.
Budget passed. Yeah. Those are 2 big items. So now we have a lot of other stuff on the budget. Do you want to go ahead and proceed, or do you need a break? Okay. Okay. And what we'll need to do, I know there'll be a lot of you that will want to go ahead and leave, but to visit around, and we're going to take about a 5-minute break, and then you can do what you need to. Thank you all for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a long agenda. I want to go ahead and get started so people can go home. I know there's a lot of activity going on. The next thing we have is number 11, and it's an ordinance transferring money. J.P. Cochran, you're recognized.
Thank you, Judge. Attorney Zega, would you read 11.1 by title?
An ordinance transferring monies of $1,200 within the election budget for 2016.
Thank you. I move to pass 11.1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Do I have any public comment? Carly, would you call the roll?
Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Butch Pond. Bill Essery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom. Eva Madison. Sue Madison.
Next thing you have in front of you is 12.2. J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. Attorney Zega, would you please read 12.2 by title?
An ordinance appropriating the amount of $50,000 from the general fund to the interfund transfers budget and recognizing total revenue of $50,000 in various grant funds for 2016.
I love this grant money. Move to pass 12.2.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, that's,
12.2.
J.P. Cochran, my apologies, and my apologies to the rest of the court. May I now read 12.2 by title only?
Please.
yes.
Please.
An ordinance appropriating revenues of $10,000 in the JDC Grant Fund and appropriating $10,000 from the JDC Grant Fund to the Emergency Response Center budget for 2016.
Move to pass 12.2.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public comment? Carly, call the roll.
Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Essery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom. Eva Madison. Sue Madison.
In my report tonight, I only have one small thing that I would like to tell you about. Yesterday, I went down to West Fork, down to the river park. I met with the highway department. I had a great big screw that come out of that bridge. I gave the presentation to the mayor of West Fork. We turned that Woolsey Bridge over to them. We will be tearing it down. We'll be storing it, and they will build it back at the river park. They will build that back. It's out of our control. It's now in theirs, and then they will proceed with the Woolsey Bridge. So I thought for the end of year, that was a pretty good report. So it's taken a long time to get it done, but the states and the feds and the cities have all worked very well with us. So we are going to build a new bridge. I won't be here to do it, but at least they've got the big screw that goes in the bridge, so they got to do it now. So I just wanted to make that report. I was very happy over it. Thank you. The next thing we have is committee reports. County Services, J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. We had 2 items on our agenda. Elizabeth Bowen came from the Northwest Arkansas Regional Council to talk about the open space plan, and then we had a healthy discussion about the IT policy, which is to be continued. That concludes my report.
J.P. Bowman.
Yes, Judge. We had a meeting with the road department talking about the GPS devices on the vehicles, and then we had a report from Ron about the buildings and grounds. Everything looks like it's in good shape. Thank you.
J.P. Pond did not meet. J.P. Lundstrom, jail, law enforcement.
Yes, we did meet, had our normal reports from detention and patrol. We discussed 3 different ordinances dealing with allowing the circuit court clerks to collect fines and fees in their courts. And that's about the course of what we did. Thank you, Judge.
And then J.P. Usry, you had no meeting this month? That's correct. Okay, thank you. The next thing we have is number 15, an ordinance amending the county code. J.P. Ball. Huh. Yeah, that's good. Go right
All
there.
right. Steve, would you read 15.1 by title only, please?
An ordinance amending Washington County Code Section 2-47 to include a parental leave policy in the employee's handbook.
This is on the third and final reading. We've talked about this a lot. And I want to say a couple things. When I brought this up, I didn't think it was going to turn into what the bloodbath almost that it has sometimes. I thought that this would be a good policy change for our employees. I did a lot of research on other companies are doing it. What's going on? Are they seeing any good or bad out of it? And I looked at, what is it going to cost us as a county? And a lot of people are concerned about the cost, and that was one thing that I really did a lot of work on, of talking with Lindsay and now also with Watson of what is the cost of the county. This money is already, we actually just allocated this money in this budget to cover this. It does not increase our budgets at all, and there's no tax increase. We voted on all taxes and budgets tonight. This will not increase the money that we're going to spend as a county in any way. Another issue was people are having to be hired, temps, when somebody goes on leave. That has not happened in the last 3 years, because I was also worried about that. Are we going to be now spending more money for somebody to cover this position? They're not doing that currently, and it hasn't happened in the last 3 years. I worked for a lot of large companies and large offices, so people are like, well, when somebody's gone, who's picking up that work? I've been one of those guys that's picked up that work. That's just kind of what you do when you work in an office. The same here. You step up when somebody needs a little help, and that would continue on. That would not change either. So this is kind of where the world's going. In 2014, 12% of companies offered paid parental leave. In 2015, 24% of companies offered paid parental leave. We're starting to see the trend, and what you're noticing is, what I noticed in my research is a lot of companies that are offering it are large companies that have high-paying jobs, tech companies, science companies. So I started doing some little more research, and these companies, when they're going to places, they're looking for these types of opportunities. What is the local government? How do they feel about these issues? So I also looked at it from what would it benefit us as a county as far as an economic standpoint. We would be saying to large employers that pay great salaries, this is what we're doing as a county. So we're open to these new ideas that you guys are bringing to us. For instance, Tyson, they did actually just change their policy. When they bought Hillshire Farms, they adopted some of their policies. This was one of them that they did adopt. My wife is the executive director of Susan G. Komen, the Race for the Cure, the Breast Cancer Foundation. They do offer 8 weeks of paid parental leave for their employees also. So we're seeing large and small companies that are offering this. And along with some of the other information of research that I've done of what is it doing for businesses? Are they really seeing a cost? So I did some more research on companies. I do a lot of reading of like Entrepreneur and Forbes and Inc. and a lot of these magazines like that. And I had read a couple of articles, and companies were talking about there is a cost for them, but they started noticing that at the end of the day, it was actually cheaper for them to do that. Employees were coming back to work. They weren't stressed out. They weren't taking as much time off from work, and it actually benefited them. There is a bottom line cost. We all know that. I'm not going to hide that from you guys. But these companies started noticing that the benefit that they were getting from it. And I also went back and tried to find some research on what are the negatives of doing this. Why shouldn't you do this? Because I feel that that's a fair exercise that I should do before I present this to you guys. I couldn't find something to say this is such a bad idea, you should not do it. Every bit of research that I did showed that, yeah, there is a cost, and some companies were still trying to adjust to it. But what I noticed that some companies that did it, they continue to extend it out. We're not going to get into like what a Google or what they're doing with, what they're doing with their one-year policy. But what I've seen is companies that are very successful have this as a policy. Their coworkers are happy because when their coworker comes back from being on leave, they're not stressed. They're happy to be there. Everybody is doing a better job. So, and some of the arguments that I've heard of as far as like this being an entitlement, I don't believe it is an entitlement. This is a benefit of doing a job. Just like we give paid vacation, we give sick leave, that's part of doing a job. And I can only imagine at the conversations that were had when people said, maybe we should start offering paid vacation. I'm sure they were having the same conversation right here. But I don't think we could ever imagine not offering paid vacation. I've heard arguments of women need to choose having a career over having a baby. I talked to my mom a lot about this, and she shared her story of she took off 2 weeks with me. I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but I weighed 914 when I was born. 40 years ago today. So,
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. And so she talked about they took off 2 weeks. She took off for 2 weeks and the struggles that they had. People say somebody told me the government shouldn't pay people to have babies. That's not what this is at all. This is a benefit for doing a job. And I am pretty passionate about this. I feel like this is the way that the world is going. We need to be out ahead of it. We are looking at 2.9% unemployment in our region. We're competing with Walmart, Tyson, J.B. Hunt's, vendors. We want good people to work in county government. And stepping outside of the box of our comfort zone and offering benefits that are a little bit different than what we're used to, that's the way we're going to recruit people and retain the great employees we have right now to work in county government. So I'm going to make a motion that we pass 15.1.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? JPS?
Thank you, Madam Judge, if I may address.
Hang on just a minute. I had already recognized it. Okay, go ahead.
I do have a question, if I may direct it to Justice Balls, if I may, please. I did have some elected officials saying this is such a bad idea because their offices are smaller, which means that they have to take on that workload, and they don't have it within their personnel budget to cover the maternity costs. This is coming out of, it won't come out of their budget, right? It will come out of.
This would come out of their personnel budgets.
At the personnel budget.
Yes, ma'am.
So whether that's budgeted.
It's already,
I know,
this
but
has
it's
already
not
been budgeted.
in their particular budget.
It's already there.
Is what the argument was.
It's already in their budget. And I've actually had that argument of,
You did
I'm in
too.
an
Okay, so you want to answer the question then?
Yeah, I'm in a small office. What am I going to do? What were you going to do if you didn't pay them?
You had to give them FMLA.
They weren't. You have to give them FMLA. You're not paying them right now. Nothing is going to change from what's going on right now, because I understand their concern of how am I going to pay for this? What am I going to do if I need to talk? What if I need to bring somebody on? Nobody's doing it. The money's already there. They're never going to notice a difference in their budget.
Okay, question number 2. Is this open for abuse?
No. Because it's when somebody has a child, you have to fill out I don't have any children, so maybe somebody's going to have to help me along the way of the paperwork you fill out when you have a child. If somebody wants to fake having a baby to get 8 weeks off, they're going to get fired. So, and I'm pretty sure that you can tell when somebody's pregnant or not.
I just wanted to open that up for you to
Yeah.
make that comment because it was posed to me. This is just opening up a can of worms for abuse.
Yeah,
And
I don't
went,
know how you could abuse it
okay.
because you have to file the proper paperwork. And so if you can find a doctor to fake it, I guess you could do that. But it's going to go through the channels that it does now for FMLA leave.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Judge.
J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. I know that a lot of the debate on this issue has been about, well, what can the taxpayers afford? Don't put this on me. I think we need to sort of look at this from a different perspective. In this analysis, we're an employer. It's about what kind of employer we want to be to the people that work for us. And so I realize it certainly is a cost, and our revenue source is taxpayer dollars. But at the same time, I really think we ought to be looking at it through the lens of whether we want to be a good employer. And one of the things I said when this first came up was we constantly tell county employees, you've got great benefits. That's why you don't get paid very much. You've got great benefits. And then some people started looking at it saying, but do we really get great benefits? And this is one way that is at a really small cost that we can provide benefits. And now I've kind of touched on my personal story a little bit, but a lot of the negative comments I got about this ordinance were about how everybody ought to save up all their sick leave and their vacation time and be responsible and smart and be ready when that baby comes to have all the leave they need. So it was not easy for me to have a child. I spent a lot of years working on that. And when my son finally came along, he was a gift that fell from God. He really was. And we weren't prepared for him. We weren't looking to adopt a child. And we certainly didn't have 9 months' notice. But by the time he came along, we had spent so much money on everything else we were doing to try to have a child. And we had taken time off to do all the things that you do to try to have a child. I didn't have stored up. I could not have stored up all my sick leave or all my vacation time. And parents who go through those kind of struggles, when it finally happens, it's supposed to be the happiest thing that ever happened to you. But I was told that I didn't get leave because I was an adopted mom. I got 2 weeks from my company that offered 12 weeks to biological mothers. Someone said that giving leave tonight to someone who's not a mother would be deplorable. That means it would be deplorable to give me leave for my newborn son when he came into my life because I had not given birth to him. Pro-life doesn't stop when they're born. It has to continue. And families happen in so many different ways, and they're not planned. You don't know if you're going to have 2 babies or when the baby's going to come. It doesn't work magically for everybody at all. So not everybody is able to plan everything to the minute and know exactly how much vacation time. Sometimes you do that. Sometimes you actually plan and you have all your vacation time stored up for the minute you have or get pregnant, and then you're sick throughout your pregnancy and you use up your time before you have the baby. So I think we need to be realistic that in an ideal world, everybody would know exactly when they're having a baby and know exactly how much leave to store up. We all know that's not how it happens. I would venture a guess that some people around this table did not exactly plan on when all their children were born. So let's stand by our word that we in Washington County give our employees good benefits. And let's back up the families of Washington County to make sure that our babies come into the world supported, healthy, without putting the financial burden on our employees to try to figure out how they're going to make it all work when that happiest baby comes into their life. Thank you, Judge.
J.B. Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. To me, the most important job we adults have is taking care of our children. And without a doubt, the introduction of a new child into a family, a new family, is a huge event. And when that happens, there are adjustments on all fronts. But what is really important that I want you all to think about is there are issues that may come up, developmental issues, perhaps some hearing issues, some speech issues, all kinds of little issues that without the careful of attention of a parent there might go unrecognized. If that child is having a nanny come in or a grandmother or somebody not as tuned into that child as a parent, then whatever those issues are that end up being ignored can manifest themselves in all kinds of complications later. When if they're recognized early, then it may be taken care of early with no problems for that child. So let's remember, this is not about necessarily nurturing our employees as much as it is the community of Washington County, the community that we live in, valuing our children and their place in a family and their introduction into a family. A lifelong commitment. And sometimes those commitments are surprises and sometimes they're not planned. But let's make them always be happy surprises, and good families are what this country is built upon. Let's support this ordinance by J.P. Balls. Thank you.
J.P. Lloyd.
Thank you, Judge. Is it true in Justice Balls in this ordinance that a 17-year-old child can be adopted and the father would still get 8 weeks paid to stay home with this 17-year-old child for the state of Arkansas? Is that true in this ordinance?
I am deferring to our county attorney, and he is shaking his head at me, yes.
Yes, that's correct.
So we're talking about babies tonight, and everyone wants to throw out babies. But then also in this ordinance, a 17-year-old that's a senior in high school, his daddy would get 8 weeks to stay home with him if he adopted him. That's correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
J.P. Maxwell.
Madam Judge. Thank you. It's like having an extra wife or a husband or something to help you keep up. I appreciate it. And I'll throw this question out at large. Probably a lot of people can answer, but how many weeks does the FMLA allow for? 12 weeks
12.
total. Unpaid, but
Unpaid,
allows
yes, sir.
for people to take the time to be with their families. So the real, it seems to me when I kind of get through all the layers, because there's certainly lots of angles and approaches on this, it seems like it really just comes down to, it's not about having access to stay home with your child. It's not about the ability to parent or whatever, or being, stuck if you run out of paid leave or sick time or whatever. It's really a question of, is the time paid for or not? And if
Yes.
I'm missing that, please help me. But
No,
that's
that
when I pare down
that's
to it.
exactly what it is, yes, sir.
My one struggle with this is that the right side of my brain that I hope is logical at times, I hear people say, well, it's budget neutral, it's not going to cost more money, and I totally get that, because I realize we're not going to add any money to the budget because these employees are already accounted for. But I really struggle with the fact that we would say that someone can be absent for 2 months and not produce anything, and that there not be a cost to the county. Maybe it's not a new check written, but it's certainly going to cost the county. Or, and I don't suggest this is a good alternative, or we could do without somebody. If we can do without somebody 2 months out of a year, and their production doesn't matter enough to not be absorbed or whatever, then that puts a whole different light on it. And it seems like every year, and I think there's probably good reason for it, our population's growing, our services are growing, we're becoming a higher level county, and I'm proud of that. But every year, most departments have some new personnel that they need to add because the personnel that we have is not enough to cover. So I don't think it's a bad idea that parents be able to stay home, and if it's an adopted child, adjust to that, or if it's a new child, adjust to that. I have 3. There's a lot of adjusting that you would do, and there's also a lot of expenses. But for this year, we just passed one of the largest budget increases that this county's had, and I really struggle with that. It seems like we have the ability to say yes to everything, and even things we say no to, we bring them back. And while I think that's a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling as we fund everything and we add and we expand, in the pit of my stomach, I realize that we are not on a good track as a good employer if we head toward bankrupting. That's a strong word. We're not there yet, but as we head toward overspending. So for me, it's about this year we've increased employees' salaries, and I think we should have. The pay raises were 5%. That's a big jump. This year, we've increased a lot of spending, and we've increased personnel. We've increased in a lot of places. I just don't think that we have room this year to increase. I'm not sure we should have increased everything we did, and adding another one on it, after the fact, I think, is probably, should make us pause for thought. So I'm really glad that families have the ability to stay home and take care of their children if they choose to have a child or adopt a child, and I'm glad that we have the family leave. I'm just not sure the county can sustain additional cost. Thank you.
JPS.
Could I address a
Yes,
couple
go
of
ahead.
concerns that he had?
You can respond.
Yeah, talking about like, can we go without for somebody for 2 months or whatever? Last year, there were 25 people that took maternity leave out of our 610, so it's not a large amount, and that are going to be impacted by, when they do take that leave. Everybody, this is something that's impacting everybody, and I think you make a good point of like, if they're gone for 2 months and they're not missed, they are going to be missed. My wife just had somebody go on maternity leave, and it's a 4-person office, and she was like stressed to the max about it. But it was interesting. I was like, when's Lindsay back? She's like, oh, Lindsay's already back. And I was like, oh, what happened? She was like, it just went by that fast. So it seems to go by faster than what we think it does. And talking about the budget, the year before me and you came on, which would have been last year, that budget was cut $4 million from the previous budget. So we are increasing the budget a little bit. The county is growing, so we are going to probably continue to see those increases. But really my point about this is we need to be able to recruit good people to work for our county, and I think that this is one of the ways that we could be able to do that. The numbers I've put together, it's going to cost about $100,000 if we did it last year. That's 0.15% of our overall budget. So we're not talking about a lot of money from an overall budget.
Well, I'll just respond and then turn the mic back, but I think that $100,000, I mean, we've had long discussions over everything from extension office to whatever, and so I just look at this and I think to do without those people for that time, we can do that. But if we don't make it paid leave, then those department heads or whatever can either incentivize the folks who are stepping up to the plate and doing extra work to get through that or whatever. But I just think that we have to at least be good accountants and look at this and say, if this is a major recruiting tool, it will become the norm here. And we have risen to that level many times, but I think instead of being the pilot project for this, I think we can use a little wisdom and say, let's wait. And if we have difficulty hiring people in the future, right now I don't think we have any major hiring issues. I could be wrong. If I am, somebody surely will help me understand that. But I think at this point, we don't have a lot of vacancies. We don't have a lot of turnover. And so if we had a lot of money and if we had a lot of issues, I'd be for doing some sort of stopgap to try to fill that. But I don't see a pressing need right now, and I certainly see a pressing on the budget. So because of that, I'm going to have to decide, I'm going to have to choose to either table this or discuss it on another year or turn it down this year. Thank you.
JP Ecke.
Yes, one more question. You get 8 weeks. Can that person turn around and do family medical leave for 12 more weeks, then followed up by 2-week vacation? So what's the time period between the two?
It's 12 weeks. It'd be the 12 weeks FMLA. 8 weeks of that would be paid. It all has to be used at one time.
Okay, so, but no, what I'm saying is you get your 8 weeks maternity leave, which means you can no longer use your 12 weeks family
Correct.
medical leave?
You would have 4 weeks left off on that because you got
Only
your 12
4
weeks of
weeks.
FMLA, and so
but
8 of that 12 would be paid.
So then you could turn around and use your 4 weeks, turn around and use your 2-week vacation.
Yes.
That's a long time off of work. That's what I was thinking about as far as the abuse.
You can
Is
do
this
that. You
open
can do
to
that
abuse?
now.
No, let's keep this, because this is long, so we need to get the discussion, so let's keep it open.
If I may, Judge,
Go ahead.
the FMLA, Justice Balls is right about the FMLA. It runs concurrent. This policy
Okay.
would run concurrent. So somebody could elect to take 4 unpaid weeks at the end of this.
Followed by?
Yes. Well, but vacation, if it were granted, is still at the discretion of whoever their supervisor is. I mean, somebody would have to bless that.
Okay.
I think it could happen, but their supervisor would have to say yes.
Oh, boy.
JP Ossery,
Okay.
was you?
Well,
JP Ecke, I'm sorry.
Justice Balls. In listening to both sides, that is one, I'm wondering, for me, what I'm struggling with right now, because I have to listen to everybody and not just my grandmother's heart wishing this. And I've heard the elected officials talk about, you have no idea. And that's what I said, okay, so enlighten me. I agree with Justice Maxwell. Perhaps this discussion can come up next year. I don't want to bury this. I think it needs, it needs to happen in one form or another, whether it's 8 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever, tweaking that needs to be done. But I support you, but I'm listening to both the voices. I really am. I'm listening to those who tell me you have no idea, you don't work here, we do, da-da-da-da-da, based to this.
And then, that is a good point, but also when people have brought that up to me, I say, well, what are you doing now? Say, well, we're just getting through. You're going to still, that's not going to change.
Yeah, I know. And I see this, they're just pulling their hair out going, you know what this one person did to us, and it just dominates. I understand. So I'm just listening to both things, and I've just wanted to be upfront and let you know that, and not say, what the heck happened with Justice Ecke? Because I have to listen to both sides.
I understand.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Judge.
Steve needs to make a clarification.
Judge,
here.
I want to, I think I did not read carefully enough this particular paragraph in answering J.P. Ecke's question. Parental leave will run concurrently with associated family and medical leave, and I'm on page 2 of the ordinance. The employee must use his or her accrued vacation and sick time following the paid parental leave before going on a leave without pay status. So I didn't speak clearly enough in answering your questions. That's page 2, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
The idea with almost every leave policy, such as the one proposed, it requires you to stack it. You can't, and use it concurrently. You can't set them together consecutively. So your FMLA is running while your paid leave is running. Then if you wanted to continue your 4 weeks of additional FMLA, you would have to run that concurrently with any paid leave you had. You couldn't do 8 weeks of maternity, 4 weeks of FMLA, and then all your vacation. The maximum you could get off would be 12 weeks. And then if you had extra vacation, you'd have to fill that in those 4 weeks. So there's not, the maximum anybody would get would be 12 weeks off work. This would give 8 weeks paid, and then if you had any time of your vacation, you could use it. So the risk you were worried about wouldn't happen. Legally, somebody's going to get off 12 weeks if they want it, and that would include for a 17-year-old adopted son. And when we ran a bill in Little Rock, State Representative Darren Williams, who has an adoptive son, when that question was asked of him, he said, and why, if you are 17 years old and you need adopting, you probably need time to adjust to your new family just as much as a baby does.
Okay, I've got J.P. Ussery and then J.P. Cochran. J.P. Ussery.
Thank you very much. A couple of, just number one, budget neutral, that my antenna automatically goes up because it's not budget neutral. It's going to come out at the end of the year. Every year we reap that benefit from the year before. So the cost is very real. And then the second thing is this started as 2 weeks and morphed into 8 weeks. And I'm just really struggling with just having a benefit like this for a small percentage of the total workers of the county. I just have trouble putting that all together. I understand it's something that probably in the not too distant future everybody's going to be doing, but at this point I'm just having trouble understanding or in my mind justifying how that can happen. So again, I just think that 8 weeks is a very long time. Thank you very much.
J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. Not to revisit some of the other comments others have made, Justice Ussery is right. It's not budget neutral. It is budgeted for if they don't take pregnancy leave in this maternity leave, but if they take it, that money comes back in our becomes part of our unappropriated reserves because it's not money spent. If we had 25 people take leave last year, and they take 8 weeks, that's 200 weeks. And if we do, just to use a round number, $20 an hour times 40-hour week, that's $800 a week. That's $160,000 in payroll. You add the payroll taxes and what have you on top of that, you're getting pretty close to $200,000. I think the number 25 is going to be low, because when we now add the spouse, the husband, to be able to take this, there are going to be some of those take that as well. So I'm not quite sure how you can end abuse if the husband and wife don't work for the county, and the husband does work for the county, and they have a baby, and he decides, hey, I'm the primary caregiver, I'm going to take 8 weeks off, and the wife takes whatever time she has. I think there's some room for abuse there. I am troubled by the term child in the wording of the ordinance, because of the state definition of child not reaching majority until age 18. I would think that to tighten that up, you would want to use at least limit an adoption age in that. The situation where Lindsay Huffaker told us that in these instances of absence due to pregnancy that we didn't hire anybody to replace lends me to believe that they probably spent some of that money on overtime with those folks, or it became comp time because they worked extra hours. I'm not sure how that worked in each department, but there's just too many things on here, and I can't support this at this time. Maybe once it becomes more of a going thing, I don't know that we need to continue to enhance benefits. We enhanced benefits on the health insurance extremely big this year to the tune of about $800,000. I don't think we need to throw another $200,000 out there. Thank you, Judge.
Did you need to make another clarification?
Well, I think, yes. This policy only allows for, as written at least, would only allow the primary caregiver. So if the other spouse, in your scenario, J.P. Cochran, was the primary caregiver, and the male half of the married couple took off, and the female couple of the couple took off, that would be in violation of the policy. That would not be the way the policy is written. Second point is, I don't know legally how, if you were to craft this, and this is just, I don't know how you craft it to limit non-minor adoptions or minor adoptions. I think you get into you run afoul of state and federal law if you try to do that. In other words, the state has decided that juvenile adoptions are at 18 years old and below. I think you'd have difficulty at best crafting a policy that says, okay, if they're 14 and younger, we'll allow you to take care of this policy, take advantage of this policy. Just throwing it out there as food for thought in what you might do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, okay. McHenry.
Thank you, Judge. There are a couple of things that have crossed my mind regarding this. Obviously, the FMLA protects the job. So all the employees' jobs are protected for 12 weeks. And the problem we're running into is, the wage protection over that period of time. I did a little research as well, and I looked into what the state of California has done. And I don't know if anyone else has looked at that or not, but they actually have something called state disability insurance that covers a portion of the wage that is offered to these employees that are on leave. So they're identifying another source of funding for a portion of that paid leave. And additionally, the other point that I wanted to make is I work for an organization that in 1999 received $20 million for the development of a program to train people to care for older adults in the home. It doesn't sound like this particular approach has a lot of momentum right now, but I would suggest that if it comes back, that we look at both ends of the spectrum, because Alzheimer's dementia is a big thing these days. And when someone is diagnosed with that, then there's a critical need for time away to adjust to that diagnosis. So, and in California, they call it kin care. So I will forward the information that I've gotten to Karen, and she can distribute it to the rest of the court. But it's just something to consider when this comes up again, because I struggle with the idea that such a small number of people are going to be benefiting from this. But as I see it, you know, it might ought to be bigger, and it might ought to reach out to more employees with more issues that they'll run into.
Are you talking about something like more like a family leave policy?
Just expanded to more persons to benefit from this. If we're going to vote for something that's going to benefit the employees of Washington County, then let's vote for something that's going to benefit the widest number of employees of Washington County.
Do you have a question?
Thank you, Judge.
Watson, do you all know how much our short-term disability pays?
It's all based on your salary.
Is it 60% though? Do you know what it is? 60 to 70%. Okay, because I know I checked into some local companies that don't have maternity leave or any kind of parental leave, but they provide their employees short-term disability. They pay for it. Our folks have to opt in for it, and then if you have a surprise pregnancy, it's too late. So one way that some people deal with it is similar to what you're talking about, is they actually provide short-term disability for everybody as a paid benefit. So if you get sick for some other reason, you get it too, and this would qualify. Ours doesn't quite work that way because you have to opt in to pay for it yourself. So that is an alternative that would open the doors to more folks. That's the way a lot of companies deal with it.
Are we ready to call the question?
Yeah, I call the question.
Okay. Carly, call the roll, please.
It's public comment, Judge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have public comment on this before we vote? Okay. Carly, call the...
Joe Maxwell. No. Gary McHenry. No. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. No. Bill Ussery. No. Daniel Balls. Yes. Harvey Bowman. No. Rick Cochran. No. Robert Dennis. No, right? No? Okay. Lisa Ake. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd.
No.
Tom Lundstrom.
No.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion, the ordinance is not adopted, Judge.
Okay. The next thing we have is number 16, Butch Pond.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Steve.
An emergency ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit granted by the Planning and Zoning Board.
It's, I've taken notice that there was not any protest from the neighborhood on this. It's a very small, very low impact, kind of a little chapel in a very out of the way place. I just move that we pass.
Second.
I have a motion, and I have a second. Do I have any discussion? Yes, J.P. Dennis.
A little bit more. Where is this?
It's kind of in the Durham area. Juliet?
It's on McCord Road. Are you familiar? Yes, in the kind of Durham area, sort of south of Elkins.
Thank you.
Does that help?
I know that at one point in time there was one on Schaefer Road. That's not this one?
No, sir. That one is in Greenland. That one's actually being appealed, but this one did not have any
Thank you.
neighborhood.
That's all I need to know.
Okay. Any discussion? Any public comment? Call the roll, Carly.
Joe Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Eke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison.
Okay, number 17, J.P. Lundstrom.
Mr.
Mr. Zager, would you read that, please?
An ordinance approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County, Arkansas, and Madison County, Arkansas regarding jail services.
This is a very simple renewal of our interlocal agreement with Madison County to provide them jail services, and they're paying, I believe it's $62 per night for their prisoners. For our major cities here in the county, we charge them $62 for a booking fee. So I move that we pass 17.1.
This is on the first reading, so you'll need to
Well, that's
suspend the
true.
rules and place it on the,
Well, let's do that so we can go ahead and get this done. I want to suspend the rules and place it on second reading by title only.
okay, I have a motion to suspend the rules. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
An ordinance approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County, Arkansas, and Madison County, Arkansas regarding jail services.
Okay, I move that we suspend the rules and place it on final reading by title only.
I have a motion and a second, suspend the rules. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign.
An ordinance approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County, Arkansas, and Madison County, Arkansas regarding jail services.
I now move that we pass 17.1.
I have a motion to move, let me see, 17, wait. Do I have any public comment on this? Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison.
Number 18, J.P. Lundstrom.
18.1 is renewing our interlocal agreement with the city of Fayetteville for jail services. This is done every year, and it needs to be done tonight so that they can have a right to use the jails in January. So I'm going to make a motion that,
Suspend the rules.
we haven't read it the first time yet, have we?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
Mr.
No,
Zager,
sir.
would you read it, please?
An ordinance extending an interlocal agreement for jail services with the city of Fayetteville for 2017.
Now make a motion to suspend the rules and place it on second reading by title only.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and place by title. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I now move that we place
Wait,
it on
I-
final
Wait
reading.
a minute, you got,
J.P. Lundstrom,
Oh,
I have
I'm
to.
sorry. Go ahead.
An ordinance extending an interlocal agreement for jail services with the city of Fayetteville for 2017.
Now make a motion to move it on to the third and final reading by title only.
I have a motion to suspend the rules. Final reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
An ordinance extending an interlocal agreement for jail services with the city of Fayetteville for 2017.
And now move that we pass 18.1.
I have a motion to, okay, let's see. Do I have any public comment? Further?
Is it the same
It's
amount?
the
They get $62
Thank you.
booking fee one time only.
It was increased $2 this year.
Okay.
Was it 94 now, or was it,
When it was,
64?
no, it was 60 last year and it's up to 62.
Should we apologize since we don't charge the state near that much?
Well, that's a one-time fee.
Don't give him ideas. Okay, we've got, Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lindstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison.
Now we're to number 19, J.P. Lundstrom.
Mr. Zager, please.
An ordinance designating the various district court clerks in Washington County as the collectors of district court fines in accordance with Arkansas Code annotated section 16-13-709.
I would like to now make a motion that we move this to second reading by title only by suspending the rules.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
An ordinance designating the various district court clerks in Washington County as the collectors of district court fines in accordance with Arkansas Code annotated section 16-13-709.
I move that we read this for the third and final time by title only.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign.
An ordinance designating the various district court clerks in Washington County as the collectors of district court fines in accordance with Arkansas Code annotated Section 16-13-709.
Do I have any public comments on this? Carly, would you call the roll, please?
I haven't moved to pass it yet.
Oh, have you not? Well, would you please? Would you please?
Slow down just a little bit here. I'm trying to rest. I'd now like to move that we pass 19.1.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Judge, we have to call the roll.
Yeah, Carly, call the roll. Yeah, I'd asked him that a while ago. Nobody wanted to.
Joel Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Essery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison.
Okay. Number 20, J.P. Lundstrom. Yep, all but which you.
Mr. Zager, number 20, please.
An emergency ordinance designating the county detention center, oh, wait a minute, that's the wrong one. My apologies, I went too far.
It's 20.2.
Yes. An emergency ordinance repealing Washington County Code Section 2-132, creating, it should say and, my apologies there, creating the official position of county jail doctor.
This one doesn't have an
No.
emergency.
Yes, it does.
It does.
It does. It has an emergency clause.
Okay, then I move that we pass 20.2. I'm not going to try to explain it because it's 4 pages long and I don't understand it start. But I know it's necessary or they wouldn't ask for it.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Judge, I can provide,
Why don't
if
you go
J.P.
ahead and-
Lundstrom would like me to do that.
I would. I would hear a little bit of it.
No, the reason for this is we have a contract with a local medical provider, Caris Correctional Health LLC, that has been providing all jail medical services for us for the last year. Dr. Caris, like all of jail medical providers, has been sued 20-ish times in the last year by detainees who are unhappy with various things in the way. And by the way, all of these suits allege that county detention staff have done something wrong too. They're all civil rights suits. Dr. Caris has experienced a substantial jump in his medical malpractice premiums as a result of this, even though these are not medical malpractice claims. What this ordinance does is it allows us to put Dr. Caris and his staff on the county's risk management fund. I understand there's going to be no impact to us in terms of the premium. I don't want to tell you all that for a guarantee. That's my understanding tonight as I'm talking to you. But it allows him to take advantage of the risk management fund and to be named as one of our folks if there was a judgment on a civil rights case to be covered. It also allows him to get the benefit of our risk management attorney's defense. So that's what this is about. And it really does need to be done tonight because the contract runs out in 16 days. Sorry. And I don't like springing this on y'all, but this is all developed in about the last 7 days that this has all taken place.
Okay, I do have a motion. I have a second. Do I have any public comment? Carly, would you call the
Oh,
roll?
Judge.
I'm sorry.
So just one quick question. Is this retroactive? Otherwise,
No, it'll take effect when judge signs it. But and if y'all pass it, it'll take effect when judge
so
signs
it
it.
won't take effect for suits
No.
that were in the past?
No, that's correct. And that's going to be an issue in the contract that we're talking to, the next year's contract on the jail medical with him.
Okay, all right, so, okay. Yes, J.P. Maxwell.
Question. Thank you, Madam Judge. I know it mentions it here that it's going to help us save money, and I understand kind of the shared liability or making sure we're not paying liability in two places, and I think that makes a lot of good sense. Do we have any idea the amount of money that this will kind of bring some synergy for?
Not sure I understand.
I'm looking at the the fourth whereas. Just says, will allow it to participate in the county's risk management fund. So I'm assuming that's going to alleviate the pressure on his malpractice insurance because of the extension to the jail, thus saving money on professional liability claims and allow the county to save money on its contract with Caris Correctional Health. I just wondered if those numbers are predetermined, or is that just anticipating that the next time we sign the contract that the numbers will shift downward for us?
Well, I think it's, the savings is in that he won't have to increase the payment for his insurance, which he would, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but then he would then.
Past that.
No, this is, Sheriff's right, and JP Maxwell, you're right. It's a prospective. It's not going to, it probably won't affect this year's costs because he's already got a claims history.
So it's a prevention of cost increases? Okay.
Yes, and it is a prospective, we are looking at next year's contract in all likelihood.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Yes.
Pardon?
Joe Maxwell?
Yes.
Gary McHenry?
Yes.
Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls?
Yes.
Harvey Bowman?
Yes.
Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Eki?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
Eva Madison? Sue Madison?
Okay, next thing we have is Resolution JP Pond.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I'd like to read this.
You're recognized to read it. Go ahead.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Washington, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution to express appreciation of the Quorum Court to Gary McHenry for service as a Justice of the Peace. Whereas Gary McHenry was appointed by the Governor of Arkansas in September 2015 as Justice of the Peace from District 11 of Washington County. And whereas Gary McHenry will serve as a Justice of the Peace and a member of the Washington County Quorum Court until December 31st, 2016. And whereas Gary McHenry has faithfully performed his duties as a Justice of the Peace and a member of the Washington County Quorum Court. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1, on behalf of the citizens of Washington County, Arkansas, the Quorum Court hereby commends Gary McHenry for his dedicated service to Washington County and expresses its appreciation to him for a job well done. Article 2, the other justices of the peace of Washington County express their pleasure at having served with Gary McHenry on the Quorum Court. And we all have signed this resolution. It's an honor to have and a privilege to have been able to read this resolution. And I would like for the Governor, Asa Hutchinson, to be sent a copy of this resolution. Thank you.
So, did you make a motion to adopt this?
I move that we adopt the.
Do I have a second? Yes, you're recognized. Yes, it is appropriate.
Thank you very much, fellow members of the court. I have really appreciated my time here. I remember when I was considering accepting an appointment to the court, I looked at the videos of several past meetings. And one thing that I did see there in those videos, and I saw as I sat here, was a lot of passion. There was a lot of passion, and I want to share a quote, and then I'll be done talking. It's a quote by Martin Luther King, in which he indicated, "Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step toward the goal, in this case of justice, requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals, which I commend each of you for being. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Yes, J.P. Cochran.
Well, we're going out in style tonight, aren't we? Thank you for serving.
Okay, let's do a roll call.
Joe Maxwell.
Now, wait a minute, hang on just a minute. Do we have any public comments? You may have someone from your family here. Okay, thank you, Carly.
Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Akey. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom.
Absolutely.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison.
I don't get to vote, but yes. Next we have is number 22. Butch?
Are we going to call 22? And I'm
Well,
going to
that's,
read.
I think,
I think I'm going to read 23.1.
okay, Karen's got it, okay, go right ahead.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Washington, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution to express appreciation of the Quorum Court to Sharon Lloyd for service as a Justice of the Peace. Whereas Sharon Lloyd was appointed by the Governor of Arkansas in March 2015 as Justice of the Peace from District 2 of Washington County, and whereas Sharon Lloyd will serve as a Justice of the Peace and a member of the Washington County Quorum Court until December 31st, 2016, and whereas Sharon Lloyd has faithfully performed her duties as a Justice of the Peace and a member of the Washington County Quorum Court. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1, on behalf of the citizens of Washington County, Arkansas, the Quorum Court hereby commends Sharon Lloyd for her dedicated service to Washington County and expresses its appreciation to her for a job well done. Article 2. The other justices of the peace of Washington County express their pleasure of having served with Sharon Lloyd on the Quorum Court. And again, it's an honor, and I thank you for allowing me to read this resolution. And again, also, I ask that the governor receive a copy of this resolution as well.
May I say something, Judge?
Well, do we have a motion?
Move to pass.
Second. And I have a second? Okay, yes, you're recognized.
Thank you, Justice Pond. This has been an experience that I wish every citizen of Washington County could experience. It is so eye-opening to find out the workings of your government, of our government. I am so thankful that Governor Asa Hutchinson had the wherewithal to appoint me, and I just feel like that this has been an experience that I will always cherish. I will look back on this time and the friends that I've made on this court, and this will be remembered as just one of the highlights of my life, I do believe. I do want to thank my husband, Roddy Lloyd, who will be sitting in this seat come January 1, and I'm loving it. I cannot wait for y'all to get to meet him, and thankful to him for what he's had to put up with when I come home at night. I don't know about you all, but when I leave this meetings, I'm either a very high or a very low. It's one of those kind of, it's a very emotional experience, and I guess passion would be the word to describe it, but you get very into it. I mean, you leave work and it's another work day, but you leave here and you think, man, I've really made some decisions tonight that can really change some things that happen in your, and you feel that weight on you. And so you go home and it never fails. I'm a good sleeper, but it never fails on a night that we've had a lot of things that I can lay there and just think about everything that's gone on, and I don't want to watch it again. I don't want to see what it all. But it has been, like I just stated, it has been an awesome experience, and I have loved getting to know everyone. And I know, that we've all had our disagreements, but in the end, we're all about doing what we can for the county. And I know that's the heartbeat and the passion of every one of you all here, that you're really wanting to just do what's best for our county. And this county's lucky to have everybody here. So just thank you, everyone.
Okay, yes, go ahead, JP.
I just want to say to Sharon, JP Lloyd, politics makes for strange bedfellows, for sure, because I really enjoy the friends that I make on this court, and you're one of them.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Any other comments? Okay, Carly, call the roll.
Yes.
I should turn my mic on, sorry. Gary McHenry? Yes. Joe Patterson? Butch Pond? Yes. Bill Ussery? Yes. Daniel Balls? Yes. Harvey Bowman? Yes. Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
Definitely yes.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd? Tom Lindstrom?
Yes, indeed.
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Sue Madison?
Robert Dennis.
Thank you, Madam Judge. Now, I'll ask Steve to read instead of myself, if you don't mind.
A resolution to express the appreciation of the Quorum Court to Marilyn Edwards for service as the Washington County Judge. Whereas the people of Washington County in the November 2008 election chose Marilyn Edwards as their county judge, and whereas Marilyn Edwards has faithfully performed her duties as presiding over the Washington County Quorum Court, her responsibility for the county roads, and the many other venues of county leadership for the past 8 years, now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1. The members of the Quorum Court express their pleasure in serving with Marilyn Edwards during the 8 years of her leadership and commends her for her dedication and service to Washington County. Article 2. On behalf of the citizens of Washington County, Arkansas, the Quorum Court hereby acknowledges the completion of Marilyn Edwards' duties and expresses its appreciation to her for a job well done.
Do I have a motion?
That applause probably says it all. I move the adoption of 20.
Second.
I have, any comments?
Well, I didn't get to say the comment with my part, but, when you serve, and serve as long as you have, you just deserve all the admiration of everybody. We might not have agreed with you every time, but at the same time, I admire anybody that would work and serve the county as hard and as passionately as you did. Thank you.
I will, yes, Rick.
Judge, I remember the first time you and I sat in your chambers as an incoming JP, and we talked, and we were talking about how long you'd been here. And you've been here ever since I moved to Arkansas in the late 60s when they came down here with Dillons. You've seen a lot over those years. You put a lot of your life interest into our county. It's hard to know all that we benefit from what you've done over these years. I wish you the best in your retirement, and I will apologize for dissolving the Finance Committee and putting a burden on you.
You did that just so I'd have to show up at all the meetings. I just want to, oh, yes, J.P. Pond.
Yes, ma'am. If I can get through this. You showed me why we call the executive of the county judge. Your judgment has been very fair. You've been fair to every neighborhood, every small neighborhood, every small part of the county. You have treated us all the same and very fair, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Butch. I want to, yes, J.P. Harbison.
I want to thank Marilyn Edwards for her 50 years of service to this county. She deserves to have a good retirement and enjoy those grandchildren. But she has given practically her life to this county and has served it well. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank the court, each and every one of you. I've seen some come, and then we have new ones come in, but we all strive to do the very same thing for the good of the county. But I would like to make a comment to the public, to the people in Washington County. They've allowed me to serve them into so many capacities, and I've not been disappointed in any one of them. It's been a pleasure and it's been a joy to serve each and every one of them. Wish I could have done more. There's always a problem of not enough money, but we do well with what we've got, and I want the people out there to know how much I appreciate all they've done for me, and I hope they feel like that I did a little bit for them. Thank you all. It's been a long meeting. We've accomplished some good stuff, and more than anything, thank you for passing the budget. Do we have any?
We do need a vote.
Carla, would you call the roll?
Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom. Eva Madison. Sue Madison.
Thank you all very much. Do we have any other business to come before this court?
Wait.
I'm sorry, Gus.
Jeannie, do we need to collect money? We do. We always collect money for JDC's holiday meals, and we didn't do it at Thanksgiving, so.
Well, anybody wants to get in their wallets, let's go ahead.
Yeah. So we need to make sure we give money to Jeannie.
Okay, she's here. She's going to stick around a little bit so anyone can help her out. But she'll be there to collect. Again, any other business? I think we are ready to adjourn.
He moved to adjourn, I second it.
All in favor, say aye.